Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. If you've been scrolling through social media this week, you've probably seen some hyper-realistic images of celebrities or political figures circulating, like these. But none of them are actually real. Instead, these images and their scores of variations were made by sophisticated tools powered by artificial intelligence, like Midjourney. This cutting-edge model generates images from natural language inputs. So all you need to do to create a realistic but fake image of someone is to type whatever you want to see, and AI image generators will take care of the rest. AI image generator Midjourney has also been used to create super realistic images of former US President Donald Trump getting arrested. And Trump himself even shared a fake image of him kneeling down to pray.
Pictures appearing to show former President Donald Trump being arrested are going viral. You can see that it looks like Trump is handcuffed and being dragged by police in Washington, D.C. But these photos aren't real. Former President Trump hasn't been arrested, so these pictures can't be real. What they are images generated using artificial intelligence. On Twitter, Elliot Higgins, the founder of the intelligence and research agency Bellingcat, took credit for them. In his post, Higgins said, making pictures of Trump getting arrested while waiting for Trump's arrest. Higgins said he used Midjourney, a free artificial intelligence tool that allows its users to create realistic images. And he created a lot of them.
Here's the best way to tell if an image is a computer-created forgery. Just look at the hands. Artificial intelligence tools like Midjourney have tremendous difficulty generating hands and teeth. However, it's safe to say that won't be the case for too long. But again, if you're just scrolling through social media, it might not be the first thing you look at.
Artificial intelligence used to be bad at making hands. It's gotten a lot better. This is Midjourney version 5. I'm really not seeing too much wrong with this image. Compared to what we used to have, this is way better. Hands up in the air here. The hands are getting so good that this weird dog thing on the right is looking weird. And again, text. It's obviously not perfect yet. I said hand holding a mug. That is a long hand. Who holds a mug like that? Hands stretched out, holding a basketball. Looks pretty good. Hands using a hammer. Hammer. Person finger painting. Person petting a cat. If I showed you this and said, oh, I took this, what, are you going to challenge me?
So fake photos, they're nothing new. Doctoring images have been around since the invention of photography. Photoshop took it to new heights, but even with that, it took some real skill to pull off a convincing fake. But now with Midjourney, anyone can type in text prompts and instantly see their creations come to life, and maybe go viral if they're lucky. Only time will tell whether these new AI programs will create more disinformation and misinformation with photos like this. With the 2024 US presidential election just over the horizon, things could get messy pretty quickly. And that's not even looking at the impact on jobs. AI technology, according to Goldman Sachs, could replace the equivalent of 300 million jobs. Journalism and IT are often cited as among the first careers likely to face job cuts. However, it seems that the world of fashion is also under the spotlight. Lara reports.
Step aside, Gigi and Bella. There's a new player in the fashion game, and she's causing quite a stir. Meet Shooter Graham, the South African beauty that has the fashion world on its toes. She's been called the next big thing with her plans to champion diversity in the industry.
Okay, Shuru.
138K followers.
She's quite attractive, actually.
She's a Vogue cover girl, man. I think she'll outlive all of us. Crazy.
But here's the twist. She's not real. Shuru is the world's first digital supermodel, and she's not the only one. CGI models like her have been making waves in the fashion world for years now. Everyone from high-end luxury brands to fast fashion retailers are turning to digital models for their campaigns and runway shows. Why? For starters, these models can be digitally manipulated to create poses that would be impossible or downright dangerous for a real human to achieve. Plus, they can work for hours on end without needing a break, allowing brands to create a ton of content in a short amount of time.
There are some benefits. It's going to be a bit better for the environment. It will be a bit more cost effective. Theoretically, if a model created a digital twin of themselves, they could work in multiple places at one time.
Shuru can work 24 hours a day. I can only work 20.
The latest brand to jump on the digital model bandwagon? Levi's, the iconic denim brand. They have announced a partnership with an AI company called LaLaLand.ai, known for creating hyper-realistic AI models of varying body types, ages, and skin tones. Levi's plans to use these AI models as part of its digital transformation journey towards diversity, equity, inclusion, and sustainability. Noble goals, but there are some major ethical issues at play here.
There are unique complexities when it comes to AI-generated characters. For example, identity. Does a coder in Silicon Valley somewhere, for example, just get to own a bunch of diverse models and speak on their behalf, decide which brands they're going to model for, which campaigns they're going to represent? So theoretically, the coder is representing those communities without actually being a part of them. The people earning an income on behalf of these identities don't actually relate to them.
Do these companies have the right to speak on issues of diversity and inclusion when they're using digital models instead of real people? Is this a new form of robot cultural appropriation? And why not just pay real models instead of digital ones?
Virtual blackface, basically, because I think it's super messed up that there are actual black women models who would be happy to star in these campaigns, but instead brands are picking virtual black models where none of that money goes to black people. Like the fact that we exist in a world where it's okay for a man who is white to make a virtual black woman and then profit off that virtual black woman, to me, is the story.
Yeah.
That says it all.
Yeah.
And it makes me angry.
As the fashion industry continues to embrace the latest technology, human models will have to adapt to a changing workforce just like everyone else. But they can protect themselves and their jobs by creating digital copies of themselves while continuing to build and share their uniquely human stories. And that's something an AI could never do.
From AI to the U.S. justice system, an appeals court has reinstated the murder conviction of Adnan Syed 6 months after a lower court vacated his life sentence and he walked free. Adnan and the investigative lapses that led to his conviction in the year 2000 were made famous by hit podcast Serial, a landmark series that revolutionized the true crime podcast genre. The podcast raised doubts about his guilt in the murder of ex-girlfriend Hae Min Lee. After 23 years behind bars, Adnan was freed in September when new DNA testing exonerated him from the 1999 murder. The latest twist in the case doesn't mean Adnan will be sent back to prison, as the court decision to reinstate his conviction has to do with procedural failures. The court ruled on Tuesday that Hae's family had not been given enough time to attend the hearing vacating Adnan's life sentence. Hae's brother was only given a day's notice and had to attend the hearing via Zoom.
The family of Hae Min Lee, who was killed in 1999, demanded that the court do this last month. They argued that Lee's brother was told about Syed's release too late to attend the hearing in person. The court agreed that this violated his rights, and now they'll hold another hearing to consider vacating Syed's conviction. Essentially, this is all a technicality.
He got convicted of murder 23 years ago, but the state had been withholding evidence that could help prove his innocence. A couple of years ago, the state took a very rare step of moving to vacate the conviction itself. They told the court, you need to get this guy out of jail. He didn't have a fair trial. So why was his conviction just reinstated? The appeals court is not saying that he needs to go back to jail. Instead, they're saying they need to do the hearing on the motion to vacate again, and they need to give the victim's brother sufficient notice. When they did the hearing last time, they called the victim's brother while he was at work. He was able to make these comments, this isn't a podcast, it's a never-ending nightmare. But that wasn't enough notice. So they'll probably have to do the hearing again, but the result's not going to change.
So this whole thing was really just about the rights of the brother being violated, not his innocence or guilt. And I'm pretty confidently predicting that the motion to vacate the conviction will get granted again, and Adnan will again be a free man.
While the latest development appears to be purely procedural, Rabia Chowdhury, the lawyer and family friend who initially approached the Serial podcast about Adnan's case, believes there's more to it.
No exoneree in the history of this country has faced this. It's starting to feel like Maryland is deeply invested in persecuting a Muslim man for a crime he clearly did not commit.
Lending and preserving books are the primary goals of a library, right? Internet Archive, a nonprofit with a massive ebook database, believed it was doing just that when it launched an online emergency library during the pandemic. Now it's an all-out court battle with 4 major publishers. Sari brings us this chapter.
Have you ever heard of the Wayback Machine? The Wayback Machine is a non-profit internet archive dedicated to preserving our rich internet history, which is actually at risk.
The Internet Archive was established to become the digital library of Alexandria. In 1996, when the internet started to become a part of our daily lives, the nonprofit began building a digital library.
I think the role here is to be a record of what happened so that people can't rewrite history, which is starting to become more and more of an issue, and to go and make it so that we can build on the best that other people have ever done.
Offering a vast archive of web pages, books, audio records, videos, and even software, the nonprofit library was dedicated to making sure nothing on the internet would ever get lost. The Open Library project made thousands of records available to the public, thanks to a practice called controlled digital lending.
In the CDL system, if the patron checks out the digital copy, the hard copy becomes inaccessible. And if a second reader wants to borrow that digital version, she has to wait for it to be returned. CDL uses digital rights management technology to ensure at the end of your digital loan, the file gets locked and automatically deleted, the same tools that ebook publishers use to prevent piracy. Controlled digital lending is a common-sense evolution of what libraries have been doing for centuries, buying books and loaning them to patrons for free.
99% of libraries in the US closed their doors when the pandemic hit, locking away approximately 650 million books. In response, the Internet Archive launched a national emergency library, ditching the waiting lists for 1.4 million books. They let multiple readers access books simultaneously, for 2 weeks at a time. The digital library was also offering 2.5 million downloadable books, which were in the public domain. The National Emergency Library quickly drew criticism from publishers, and in June 2020, 4 major publishers, Hachette, HarperCollins, Penguin Random House, and John Wiley & Sons, sued Internet Archive for copyright infringement. The nonprofit argued that its online library was launched for the public's benefit. Therefore, it was transformative and fell under fair use. But on March 24th, a judge ruled against Internet Archive, saying its work was far from transformative, but in fact, derivative. The Association of American Publishers praised the decision.
In rejecting arguments that would have pushed fair use to illogical markers, the court has underscored the importance of authors, publishers, and creative markets in a global society. We hope that the opinion will provide educational to the defendant and anyone else who finds the public laws inconvenient to their own interest.
But the Internet Archive is not giving up.
The lower court decision is a blow to all libraries and the communities we serve. This decision impacts libraries across the U.S. and authors by saying that unfair licensing models are the only way their books can be read online. It holds back access to information in the digital age, harming all readers everywhere.
The web historians say they will appeal the decision, and their fight to provide universal access to all knowledge is far from over.
And that's our show. Find us on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.